I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We are blessed, and I'm excited to present to you what we have to offer today. Um, I met Paul about a year and a half ago at the National Association of Realtors conference and in Florida. And a little about Paul is he's a really interesting cat. He was born in Southern California, backpacked through Asia with only like $500, a college diploma, and a credit card. Didn't speak the language. He went out, became fluent in Chinese and Japanese. He has started multiple companies in Japan and in China. He's been featured on HDTV, Living Abroad, Shanghai, Yomiuri newspaper, China Business Network, China Daily, Fox News Radio, and a bunch of other places. He really has a pulse of what is going on uh, with everything going on in Shanghai, and I think what makes Paul a unique speaker to we as realtors looking for in that market is that he's American, so he sees it from our standpoint, but also he's been there long enough in Shanghai, China, to tell us exactly what we can expect, what we're getting into. So anyways, enough of that. Paul, welcome, and you've got the board.
Thank you, Paco. Thank you very much, and welcome everybody to the webinar. Paco is a very special friend of mine, and I'm really glad that we met up there at the NAR conference because I was looking for somebody like you. Somebody who really wanted to learn, somebody who was smart, doing the right things, and was teed up to succeed with Chinese buyers. So it was like when I met you, I was just like so happy, and just our first conversation even just got me, sitting down there at the conference, got me so excited, And since then we've met up back in my hometown, and thanks so much for having me over in Riverside and seeing your place, and I got a chance to see your world because sometimes I've been gone so long that it's good to see what's going on in a real office back home.
Oh, I can completely understand. But Paul, we're all excited to hear what everybody. It's like I told you over the phone. Everybody talks about having a Chinese cash investor, but nobody's actually ever seen one. And
Right,
you made
right.
it very clear to me that they're out there. It's just how we're approaching is wrong. And I thought this would be an interesting topic on how we can maybe the way we're marketing to them is wrong. So why don't you tell us a little about what you're doing here, and then why don't you go right into it?
Okay. Um, right. So everybody on the call is a professional realtor. So you know how to sell real estate. You know all the laws. You know your area. You know almost everything you need to know. But there's a few more things that really, really help you to close a deal with a Chinese investor. And there's some things that you need to do to get on the radar, right? When you see the airplane, you see the beep, 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 beep. It's going around, and then they see the investor. The investor's there the whole time, but you don't see him, right? He's not on your radar, right? That's what I want to do. I want him to be on yours and you to be on his, right? So there's a number of things you can do to make that happen. So I'll just start a little bit about what Paco. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I came here in 1989. I'm here in Shanghai right now. It's actually quite a nice day. It's been very terrible pollution recently, but today is a beautiful day. And I came here. This is what it looked like in '89. There obviously was no Chinese cash buyers back then, but there was a lot of bicycle riders and completely different scenes. So if you forward up to today, obviously it's gone through the fastest economic what do you call it, upheaval or growth in history by far. And the people are now very, very interested in meeting you and purchasing overseas. And the reason, there's multiple reasons. I think you know a lot of them: education for their children, uh, protect money overseas, uh, lifestyle, retirement, purely freedom and the rule of law. Things like that are very attractive to Chinese investors, especially wealthy investors who, they have time on their hands. They've raised their level up. They're looking for more out of life, and that's why they're looking overseas. So let's go to the first slide here. So just give you an idea of the numbers that we're looking at. I think Canadian population 34 million, U.S. 308, and of course China they say it's up to 1.6, and nobody really knows. But let's just say conservative 1.3 billion, and the current middle class is getting close to the U.S. population. So you have a lot of people who are now capable of purchasing overseas. So it's a funny thing about China is that you can market in a different way. You can look at it in a different way because 99% of people have not bought overseas, and 90%, the latest statistics, between 85 and 90% of people with $1 million or more in China they want to buy overseas, and they're planning to buy overseas, or they already have bought overseas. So there's like a massive need, and there's a lot of realtors on your side that don't know how to fill that need, or don't know what these people, what they're looking for, and what they're thinking. That's why I want to teach you, give you kind of an idea. So here's an idea. Today we're talking about video marketing for realtors. So Baidu is Chinese Google. It's basically the search engine everybody uses. I shouldn't say everybody. People do use Google. It is still available through their Hong Kong site, but many people do use, most Chinese use Baidu. And they send 100 million people daily, every single day, to a video site. Someone searches for video, Baidu sends them there. So Baidu is sending 100 million people daily to video. Video is the stickiest thing in China. Everybody watches. If you sit in a Chinese train, or even if you watch a Chinese movie or TV show, you'll see everybody's on their phone and they're staring at their screen and they're looking at video. So video has just become massive in China. Everybody's watching video. Now, they're videos that are based in China. They're not videos on YouTube. They're not on Facebook. They're on Chinese social media. That's what they're doing. And it's very mobile friendly. Everybody's got Android phones. Android phones are huge here. All right, so the sites are not available that you're used to using, right? Like Twitter, Google Plus, any kind of news site like Bloomberg and YouTube. These sites are blocked in China. So you're not able to reach probably 99% of the buyers in China, because it's called the Great Firewall. The Great Firewall block those for a number of reasons, political reasons. So what do? You can't get on YouTube. You can't get on Facebook. You can't get on Twitter. You can't get on Google Plus. How can you reach people on the other side of the wall? I would say, Paco, I'd say it's good and bad. Because it's bad because it makes it more difficult, but it's good because the people that figure it out, the people that do it, it's blue ocean, right? It's completely, nobody else is doing it, right? So once you get over the wall, you figure out how to get into China and get your stuff visible. You're one of the few realtors, and I mean the very, very few realtors, who is visible in China. We want to start with what message do you want to give to a Chinese buyer that's going to be attractive? When you market back back in California, you're using the MLS system. I look at the MLS data, and to me it just means nothing. Being in another country, that data does not tell me what I need to know to move or immigrate to a new country. I think if you think about it this way, to craft your message, think about it this way: if you were going to take your family and you were going to move to China, what would you want to see on a description of a house that would make you understand the situation, that would make it attractive to you? What would it be? If I told you that,
You're asking?
yeah. Well, what would it be? Like, yeah, sure. What would it be? Like, if I said there's 100, square meter or 400 square meter apartment in Jing'an Temple, what would that mean to you?
Nothing, because we use square foot here, and it doesn't tell me anything about the area. It doesn't give me anything.
Right. What would you want to know? What would you know if you were going to move to China?
Location, good schools, where how far is it from my job? If my assumption is I'm going over there for work.
Sure.
What are the differences between a condo and a house? What is considered a safe property over there as opposed to something that's just, not, those kind of things.
Right. What's the safe property, right? What's it? Right. Sure. You'd want to know a lot of other stuff that wouldn't be on an MLS listing, right? the the MLS listing would essentially be invisible to you, right? You would need some kind of a story, right? What if I told you there was an area in Shanghai where most 90% of foreigners prefer to live, where there's a lot of Western food, but there's also, you know, good Chinese food, and there's the main subway in Shanghai goes right through there, right? The best schools are nearby, and you're right in the French concession where there's a lot of trees and a lot of green, and you're not so far from the river. Most of the five-star hotels are there. How would that change anything?
Well, yeah, because I'd be around people who can speak my language, know my culture, and I could actually have a conversation with somebody.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what I had to do here because I have a real estate company here. I had to write that same story for foreigners moving to China. So for me, it's easy to imagine what it would be like for a Chinese to move overseas, what story I have to write for them so that they would understand. So your listings, you don't want to just translate what you have. You want to think about it from a Chinese perspective or from a newcomer's perspective who's coming there for the very first time. And it's actually not that difficult. It's actually not that difficult. So let's go through the questions is who are you? You want to give them some kind of a story about yourself. Who are you in your area? If you can think of anything, your maybe family history in the area, or maybe not even you, maybe somebody else in the area. Maybe there's some famous people like Hollywood stars live nearby, or something that they might know. You know, it's quite common, it's quite popular now for Chinese to take a tour of California based on the TV shows they watch, right? They might watch the Desperate Housewives or whatever show they watch, and then on Youku, and then they'll go ahead and they'll take a tour to go see those places. So think about, you know, maybe if you think of China, you might think of the Great Wall, you might think of the Bund, you know, you might think of, you know, certain things you might think of, right? They have these kind of same basic ideas about your area. So what are those things? You know, what are those things in your area that are what do you call it? Not popular, but they're so well known that the Chinese would know them, right? You might want to mention that in the you know, how far is it from Hollywood? You know, things like that. They might want to know that, right? And so how can you help them, right? So you get your story, you get your basic story of yourself, your history, your area, what kinds of things are there, and then how can you help them? They're moving into your area, right? They might need a team to help them, right? You might need some kind of immigration lawyer. If you move to China, you have to get a visa here, right? You can't just come to China and say, okay, I'm here now. You need a visa, right? Same with Chinese. They need a visa. They need a green card. They need some kind of way that they can legally move there. So it's a good idea, and I talk about a lot of this in my product, is what kind of team you can build, and you can build this team with a few emails, so it's not like a big deal. But you want to have people that can help them so that they can solve the problems they need, which is getting into school, immigrating into the area. They might need a tax lawyer, you know, who understands Chinese, and, you know, certain things they might need, right? And then what do you have to offer, right? What can you help them? If I move, if let's say Paco, if your family's moving to China, you know, your daughter Maggie might be good to have somebody who knows about kids in China, you know, knows something about which school would be best for her, and where do the kids her age that go to that school, maybe they all live in one building, which is very common in China. You know, so maybe you'd want to live in that building so that she'd have friends around and things like that, right? So what do you have to offer? How can you help them to move in your area comfortably, right? You don't want to be the guy on the left, the blah 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 guy, just blah blah blahing around. You know, just it makes no sense to Chinese, right? You want to help them. Who are you? How can you help them? What do you have to offer? So today we're talking about video. So how many people are using video now where you are?
Well, we tell our realtors at iBar and everywhere else, use video every time we go somewhere. Use video, use video, use video. But the reality of it is that I'd say less than 10% actually use video.
Okay. Less than 10% of the average members are using video.
Of the realtors, yes.
Right, right. How about the people on this call? What do you think? What would be the percentage of people that?
You know what? While you're talking, I'll ask I'll do a little poll, and then I'll let you know. But you know, they're on this call. I would imagine they're a little more sophisticated.
The same kind of things that you see on Twitter. They want to see what kind of food's in the area. So pictures of food. They want to see pictures of maybe a school in the area. They want to see pictures of if there's a Chinatown, if there's some kind of Chinese supermarket in the area. Things like that would be great to put in a video. Even if it's just a few seconds here, a few seconds there. It doesn't have to be professional. It's just information. You want to take out your iPhone, your Android. You want to film a little bit of information. What I was telling about before. What's your story? What's the story of the area? You want to film that, right? It doesn't have to be long videos. These days, people are filming 3-minute videos are the most popular, right? And you can literally film it in 3 minutes because you don't need to do anything else. Just film your video, and you could. I would say probably the best thing is to load it up to YouTube first, and then you want to go to the Chinese site. And this is Youku. Okay, so it's youku.com. Okay, so Youku is the Chinese YouTube, and it has, I think it has really massive traffic. I mean, you saw the numbers before, 100 million per day are being directed to video channels, and most of them to Youku. So Youku is a massive company. It has massive traffic, and one of my friends was the founder of a company that Youku took over. So I got quite a bit of information about how it works and what doesn't work. But the thing for you to know is that no one's using it. Foreign realtors, I mean, I have 1 out of 1 million. It's something like that, right? It might even be less, right? Realtors are on Youku. So what I would say for this call is make yourself a 3-minute video, 1 3-minute video of your area, and something that would be attractive for a family moving to your area for the very first time. Okay, so here's the sign-up form for Youku. I'm not going to go into this too much because there are on YouTube, if you search sign up for Youku, there are videos that teach you how to do it, and it does change over time. But I'm just going to give you a quick snapshot so I can send you this presentation and you can have a look at it. And when you're on your own, please feel free to send me an email, and I'll be happy to step you through the process. Today we'll just quickly go what you do to sign up for Youku. This is the sign up page, so easy to find, youku.com/user_sign up. Right. So if you go to Youku, you can see this, and if you look at the circle there, the red, can you see the red I drew on there? Okay, so that's the Youku sign up there. You can see the red circle on the top right that I put there, and you want to click on that button, and that's the email button. The reason why you want to click on that is because that allows you to sign up for Youku by email instead of by mobile phone, because the mobile phone, you have to have a mobile phone inside China to sign up. So you want to click on that, and how do you sign up, or how do you sign up if you can't read Chinese, right? If you can't read Chinese, you can't see it. How do you sign up? Okay, Paco, did you install Google Chrome and
Yes, I did.
Google Translate?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did you try that out? How did that work for you?
It worked excellent. Actually, I went on a few websites and did the add-on, and it was able to translate it, and I was actually able to read, with pretty good English, almost every Chinese website I looked at.
Isn't that amazing? That is just such a great tool. This right here alone is worth your time in the whole hour, because you can read Chinese websites. Tell them from your perspective, what did you do and what does it allow you to do?
Well, what it does is it allows you to translate. It's a simple add-on. I use Google Chrome, and it allows you to translate. So when you, like, for example, like the website we're looking at right now, Youku.com, to me that's jargon. It makes no sense whatsoever. But when I translated it over, I can actually read what each field was asking me for. So I'm actually inputting everything as if it was in English.
Right. So you installed the Google Chrome add-on. So when you go to Chrome, a Google Chrome browser, and it'll say add-ons, go on the add-ons and search for Google Translate. Install Google Translate, and when you install it, then when you go to a non-English website, it'll always ask you, do you want to translate to English, or do you want to translate to Spanish, or whatever language you want to translate it to. And you click yes, and then it'll translate any page that you're on to readable language, usable. You know, it's not perfect, but it's definitely usable, and especially for instructions, ABC, how to do this, it works very, very well. But I found that Google Translate works really well, and I read news channels, you know, Russian news. I like to read the news, and I'll read in different languages to see what kind of spin they're giving. And Google Translate add-on allows me to do that. And in this case, it'll allow you to sign up for Youku and have a user account. So it's just like YouTube, first name, last name, password. But you'll see when you go to Google, when you use the Google Translate, it'll all be in English. So you can just click through there. So after you sign up for Youku, let's go to the next. All right, so this is the upload. And if you look at the red circle I put there on the top right, that's the upload character, Chinese character, and 上载. So you hit on the upload, and it'll be just like English. Choose your file, and again, Google Translate will translate everything for you. So you can translate up to Youku. I guess one difference is when you upload a video to Youku, it takes about, I don't know how many minutes it is, maybe 40 minutes for it to be visible. And the reason is it's not a technical reason, it's a political reason. And they'll look at the video quickly and make sure that it passes all the, it's nothing anti-government or anything the government doesn't like. So they do look at your videos and they check out if it's acceptable. Now, in this case, when you're selling real estate, the Chinese government is actually encouraging people to buy overseas. So you're definitely in the right here. They want you to upload it, and they want Chinese people to be able to invest all over the world and to protect their wealth. So, okay. Now, after you put up, so you've got your story, right? You've got what you can offer them. They know your area has this or that that's attractive, and you write that story. Then you go ahead and make your quick video. And you don't write the story. You can even just make it like bullet points. Show the school, XYZ school. Show this supermarket, XYZ supermarket. Show this XYZ restaurant. Show XYZ transportation hub or freeway or highway or something. Because things that are obvious to you are not obvious to Chinese buyers. And this is it's important to see it from their perspective. I asked you about what's important in a Chinese area, right, Paco? And you said this and that. The one thing you didn't mention is the subway. And the subway, from a Chinese perspective, is the most important thing. Because most cities here have a subway system, and if you're near the subway, your value of your land is up. There's more people there. It's easy. It's like being near the freeway as opposed to being in the middle of Death Valley, right? So if you're near the freeway, you can do business, right? There's schools. There's things to do. If you're far away, there's nothing to do, right? Same for a subway. So Chinese, when they move overseas, just like we do, they assume things are the same overseas. So they're wondering, where's the subway, right? Where's the nearby subway so I can just, take the subway to work, right? They might not. They don't even know that you need to buy a car and you can't, you have to drive, right? Things like that. You'd never assume that a Chinese family would know that because they probably don't. They probably aren't aware. So you have to show them is how do people get around? Oh, they take this freeway here. Take a picture of the freeway. You can do graphics too, or you can do video, but this one we're just talking about video. So things that will be helpful for their life, you want to put in that video, right? And after you put that video online, you want to evaluate your progress. My goal is for everybody on the call to do 1 3-minute video on Youku, successfully get it up on Youku, and that's a huge accomplishment. Because once you do your first one, it's very easy to do your second, your third, your fourth, your fifth, your 100th. And it becomes quite fun, and especially when you start getting Chinese buyers, you're going to get very excited, about it. So after you get that, so let's think in the future, you've got your first video up. One really important thing. The video does not need to be in Chinese. The video does not need to be in Chinese. It absolutely doesn't need to be in Chinese, and there's many ways you can do it that it'll be understandable to a Chinese, but it not in Chinese. Like for example, you can speak slowly, you can speak clearly, right? Or you can use graphics to tell the story, right? A Chinese supermarket, that's very you just look at that, you know what you're looking at, right? A good veterinarian with dogs and cats running around, the freeway coming down, a map. You can video a map, right? And you show that it's right near Los Angeles downtown or wherever it is. It's in a good area. The ocean's nearby. A picture of a short video of the ocean, right? So you want to put things in there that aren't so challenging to understand. I mean, if you look at a video made in Chinese and there's a picture of a bunch of people, walking down the street, you understand it's a city, right? And if there's you're looking at Tibet, you can understand it's a mountaintop. They're the same way, right? So you don't need to get so verbal with these videos. You can talk in English, that's fine. Hello, my name is Paco Lycia. My area is blah, blah, blah. And don't worry if they don't understand every word. Or you can do it, like I said, just with graphics, with no voice in the beginning. So however you choose, keep it simple, keep it on the things that Chinese would care about, and you're good, right? So after you do that and you upload it, you want to kind of evaluate it, because I try to manage my time, and I appreciate your time on this call. I manage my time. I try to do things like a one-shot, one-kill. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I'm not a huge stare at Facebook guy. I want to do things. I learn Chinese very, very quickly. I try to do everything. I try to just think of the smartest way I can do it. I just hammer right through it and do it. So when you get your video up there, evaluate it. Don't just go into zombie zone where you just keep uploading videos but you don't know if they're having any effect. You want to look, are you getting emails, right? You can put your email address below the video, right? You can put comments, right? You can in your title, you can put your company name and your email address. Or you can put your social media, a way that they can reach you on social media. So different ways you can reach them. As you get more advanced, you can put your Chinese social media, which is the best way. And we'll talk about that in another webinar. And we talk about a lot of that in the product. So did you get comments? Did you get likes? And when you get social media forwards, you'll know, because somebody will say, I saw your video on XYZ, which is different than Youku, right? It's on Weibo or it's on Renren, and then you realize, oh my gosh, somebody forwarded my video to somebody else, right? Chinese online netizens are very active. There's over 1 billion people here, and they're all on the net practically. People are on the net all the time, and they forward and they comment. I think they forward and comment a lot more than they do in California, personally. I mean, I get a lot of, like, as soon as I put a picture on Chinese social media, boom, 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 I'll get like 8 likes from people on my list. Just yesterday I put a picture of Adam with a cat on our table, eating at a restaurant in Suzhou, eating the bookworm in Suzhou, and boom, 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 I think I got 11 likes and comments, 3 comments, 11 likes on a picture of a cat on a table, right? So you can do personal stuff on Chinese stuff, and I think it really helps. Kind of interesting story, Paco, but my most viral Chinese social media post, what do you think it was? Take a wild guess.
I have no idea. You eating out at some unique restaurant somewhere?
It was my picture of my parents' wedding. They thought that was so interesting. It was black and white, obviously a long time ago. Parents are in their mid-70s, and they just thought it was fascinating. They sent me emails asking me questions and about everything, about love, about weddings, my family, where they are, where they came from, and that was the best. I got more contact with buyers from that picture than I did from any kind of house or anything, right? So it's good to try things out with Chinese netizens. You'll see as you start putting stuff up there, you'll get these interesting responses, right? And just flow with it, just go with it. They ask you about your family, put pictures of your family up there. They ask you about food, just pictures of food. Something like a picture of a food inside a Costco might be very exciting for them, right? It's very different. Just like it might be for you to see the bug guy outside barbecuing the bugs, right? For Chinese, they just walk by, right? Every day they walk by that guy. But for you, you see the guy out there barbecuing a rat or a cat or something, some bugs. You might be very interested in stop and take a picture, right? They're the same way, right? Anything that's new, you can never guess. Try everything is my advice. Try everything. Your kids playing with neighborhood kids, somebody riding a unicycle, a local dance, a square dance, whatever you can, some kind of food. Whole Foods would be very, Whole Foods. Chinese are very worried about the quality of food. There's been a lot of food scandals here, and so quality of life and quality safety for their children is super important. So I think describing how safe it is, even even one thing, another picture that surprised me. I was in Vancouver speaking at a social media conference, and I took a picture from the boat going to Victoria, right? And I uploaded it to my Chinese social media, and everybody started commenting and liking it. And I realized the reason why is because the sky was blue. The sky's not usually blue in China. So everybody was like, oh man, I want to live somewhere where the sky is blue, And just that picture, who would guess that, right? Just a picture of the blue sky, right? I didn't even think of it. I was just taking a picture of the water, right? But they saw something else in the picture, right?
Hey, Paul, I got a few questions. I don't know if this would be the right time for me to put them in there for you.
Go ahead. Sure.
And they all have to do with what we're talking about. I had a few people forward me a few questions, and the number one question I got was, why would a Chinese cash investor who wants to buy in Southern California use me as a realtor who doesn't speak Mandarin or Cantonese when they could use a Mandarin Cantonese speaking Chinese agent who already lives here, since we have such a large Chinese population in Southern California?
Right. Okay, a great question, and I think the answer is that some won't. Absolutely, some Chinese buyers will very staunchly stick with a Chinese realtor. And if you listen to, what's going on in your mind and assume that that's the way it is, that's the way it'll be for you. But I'll tell you something, that's not the way it is for me. I sell real estate in China to Chinese, and I've been here for, like I said, for a long time. And I'm the only foreigner I know selling real estate in China to the Chinese. And I also sell real estate all over the world to Chinese. And why would a Chinese use me? There's just different kinds of people in the world. I think, I guess the way to think about it is like this. Well, like I said, not everybody will. Okay, so you have to accept that, right? There's just going to be certain people, there's just no way they're going to use you, right? So that's why you want to put something on a video site, or you want to put it on a site where you get a lot of traffic, because the people that do want to deal with you will be drawn to you, right? So why would they use you? How about yourself? If you're moving to China, would you necessarily be looking for an American realtor in China? Or would you maybe want somebody who's Chinese, who's local in the area, who knows everything, who can introduce you to people, who has a clue about all kinds of little things that can help you, because they have a family history. They have they understand everything that you don't understand, right?
Right, it's the value. If you don't mind me jumping in, one thing I wanted to share with everybody, one thing you told me was that just stuck with me was that in China, realtors are not looked very highly upon.
True.
And
True.
Because you said it's much different than it is over here. And so when they come over here, sometimes they have this notion that realtors might not be the most professional, and it has nothing to do with what we did here. It has to do with their expectations of how it is in China. And then it's up to us, regardless whether we don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese, to show them, wait a minute, in this country it's different. We actually have ethics and training, and we don't go out of our way to screw people out of their commission, things of that sort. So that kind of stuck with me, because some of the Chinese clients I have, they made it very clear to me that I was a local expert, so they wanted somebody local, but they didn't mind I didn't speak Cantonese or Mandarin. What they cared about was they could trust me, and they know I wasn't out there to screw them. I guess at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, I guess, in any country.
Right, right. The real estate industry. I don't want people to get the idea that this is a Chinese culture. That there's like you were saying, people out to screw people. It's the real estate industry is very. I mean, it's just a nascent industry. I mean, you could not even buy land or own land. Even today, you can't really own land. You can only have a long-term lease on an area, but on a piece of land that will go back to the government ownership in 70 years. So you can't even own land here, and you couldn't even have a lease until about 1978. They started to open it up, but people didn't start buying land until very recently, just the last few years, and that's why they're so crazy about real estate. They're just absolutely crazy. I can't tell you guys how crazy they are about real estate. If you can sell, I mean, selling 8 houses to one person is not that surprising. They are in the mood to buy real estate. Trust me.
I'm sorry, Paul. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the whole thing. Is that's why they're coming. Which kind of goes into my next one. I got 3 more questions for you.
Sure.
We got 15 minutes left, and I just want to make sure I give you enough time to answer these questions before the hour's up. In case people have to leave. But the second most popular question I got was, I don't speak Mandarin, and I don't speak Cantonese. So how the heck am I supposed to communicate with them?
Right, right, and that is like I said before, is there will be some people who will not deal with you because of that. There are ways to fix that. You can get depending on your area, your situation. Some of my clients have gotten Chinese interns to help them. If you're a broker, some people have hired Chinese agents to work at their brokerage. I even have one guy who got so excited, started his own brokerage, and went from being a realtor to a broker and hired Chinese agents. So in the future, there are ways you can get around it and have native speakers in your office working for you or working with you. As far as, let's say right now you're sitting there, you're wondering, hey, can I help them? And I can't speak Chinese. I think, I have a lot of experience, so from my perspective, it's different. Some Chinese, they really just want to deal with you. They really do. They want to deal with a local. They're moving to your area. They want to deal with somebody who knows the area. They're probably worried about their kids getting in the right school. They want somebody who has a deep understanding of of American culture and how things are done there. They want kind of a guide into the area. I know when I tell you this story, when I moved into Japan, I was walking down the street. It was way back when. And I was walking down the street in an ice cream cone. I'll never forget it. I needed an apartment. I had just gotten a job, and I was walking down the street, and I saw this gobbledygook written on the street, and I saw these huge numbers. At that time, Japanese real estate was super expensive. I thought, this must be a realtor. So I just guessed. I just walked in and said, hey, do you guys have houses? Their English was terrible. It was terrible. But they muttered a few words, and they were very nice to me. They gave me a cup of tea. They were very friendly. And, I used them. And I'll tell you something. Over the years, I have introduced over 100 people that lease property or buy property to them. That's true. Over 100 successful referrals I gave for free. I never even got a referral fee. I liked them, and I lived there, and I'm kind of a community leader. A lot of people come to me when they move to Asia, so they ask me questions, so I'll just introduce them. And I introduced over 100 people to them. So, and they didn't speak English, They spoke very basic English. Later I could speak Japanese. I learned Japanese and Chinese, but that time I couldn't, right? So I don't think language is the number one thing. If you put it as the number one thing, that's your mistake. Because I guess, how do I put this? How do I take my knowledge and give it to you, boom, in one little webinar? I think if you ask people about life, if you say, hey, is it possible to do this? And people will tell you no. Is it possible to learn Chinese at 40 years old? They'll say, no, my friend went there, he was 20, he couldn't learn it, Or is it possible to do, something you've done in your life? And then they'll say no, but you did it, right? You did it anyway, right? Just go and try. The Chinese buyers, you'll be amazed. So many of them will not only will they buy from you, but they'll bring their friends and they'll bring their family. They'll introduce people. So just speak. Get used to. If there's one piece of advice I would say is speak. Don't use full sentences so much if their English is not so good. Keep it simple. Like if you want to say something like the air is very clean here, it's a good environment. You might just say blue skies, and you point up to the sky, and you say safety, very safe, and show that it's a non-crime area or whatever. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. But
keep it simple.
Yeah.
And that, I would imagine that's what we would do in the videos as you're talking about. Keep it simple, to the point. Be more visual in what you're showing them on the social media side. Michael is emailing me a question that I think I can answer. Because
Paco, let me just say one thing quick about that last question. Is that this is for the people who don't speak English well. But the other assumption that you're making is that everybody's like that. And that's definitely not true. There are a lot of people here that speak perfect English.
Right, and you know what, to add to that, all three Chinese clients I have, all speak good enough English for me not to speak Mandarin.
Exactly. So
we communicate just fine.
And let me just say, I'll just add in one little thing. The reason why I'm recommending that you do your video in English and your titles in English, the reason is because you want to draw people to you who are interested in you, right? If you write in Chinese and you have a Chinese video, then you're going to draw the wrong people to you probably, right? So be yourself, be honest, be who you are, and you'll see the right people come to you. If you advertise yourself as the wrong person, just like if on a dating site, if you put a picture of somebody else on there and tell somebody you like this but you don't, you're going to draw the wrong people to you. So be up for it, be forward, be honest, be yourself, put your stuff up there, warts and all, and you'll get the right kind of people. They'll just come
right, and that actually goes into Paul, into what I had asked you maybe like a year ago. I said if I went to Shanghai and I wanted to sell Southern California real estate, would I hire a Chinese spokesperson? And your answer was absolutely not. You want to be the spokesperson. You could have a translator, but it's like me going to Shanghai and having an American trying to sell me on something, knowing that or I'm sorry, they're coming over here, and then just me hiring somebody just because they speak the language. They want to hear from the experts themselves. Real quick, Michael wanted to know, and I kind of have an answer for you, Michael, is regarding the, there's no subways in Southern California. Well, I guess there is, downtown LA and stuff. But, Michael, I would say the bus. One of the things that I realized when I was showing houses by UCR, which is the University of California, Riverside, the first question they asked me was where the bus stops at. Because they were already thinking in their mind, there's no subway, but as long as there's buses, I'll still be able to make it safely. And so that's kind of, we don't have a subway, so we got to think outside the box. Then if they don't drive, there's no subway, then obviously got to take the buses. So Mike, that's kind of what you were asking for. Here's another one we have. Just so you know, we have 8 minutes left here.
Okay.
This article came out today in the Wall Street Journal. You probably haven't read it up there in Shanghai, but it says China properties rising, developers falling, home prices gain for 10th month, unsold homes accumulate. I'll let you talk to this, but Mike's question was regarding
what's the
is
question?
this good or bad? And the question was, is this good or bad? If this is going on in China, how does that affect us? And I told him one thing you had mentioned to me a year ago. The bubble technically hasn't popped over there, so they're trying to get their money out and buy real estate. So actually, things happening over there negatively in real estate can affect us probably over here, because that just means they're going to try to get their money out quicker. So anyways, the question is, when real estate goes bad in China, how does that affect us out here?
Okay, so I guess the deeper question is it worth it? Is this going to last, right? Is there going to be some small change in China that's going to change everything, and suddenly, you wasted your time? Why did you why did you focus on Chinese buyers, right? Yeah, is this going to change something, or is something next, something tomorrow going to change something? And it's a great question. I think there's a lot of ways to answer it. I mean, there's just I think the basic thing is to realize is that China is for real. If you understand China's for real, that is a good basic understanding. As you get older from now, you're going to see more Chinese in your area. You're going to see more Chinese language. You're going to see people moving to wherever you go on vacation now. You're not going to see bus tours of Japanese anymore. You're going to see tour buses full of Chinese. And I mean wherever you go. Africa, Cyprus, Osaka, wherever you go, you're going to see more and more Chinese traveling. And those travelers, they come first on their trip, and then they go the second time, they look at schools. And that's when they start looking at properties. They start buying properties. So I would say no, any kind of, it's kind of like a perfect storm in a way right now, because if something bad happens here, people freak out and they want to get their money out of China. They want to buy, and naturally they want to buy property, because most people here got wealthy off property, so they understand property and they want to own more property, right? So they sell their house here and they'll buy overseas, right? And if Chinese market keeps rising, right? Let's say it doesn't pop, right? Let's say the real estate keeps rising here. Well, then naturally people want to diversify their assets, right? They want to you don't want to own all Walmart stock, right? You want to own something else, right? So the Chinese are the same way. So you kind of win both ways, and I guess China is like they say it's like a bumblebee, right? Physically, you can't say why it can fly, because it's not supposed to be able to fly based on the physics of the wings and the weight of the bee, but it flies anyway, right? And China just continues flying, and a lot of people were writing off China when I first came here, and they said it was smoke and mirrors, and now you've seen, I don't know how much you guys are aware of China's real growth, but it's like in so many markets now China's number one, right? In cars and in computers, and online, netizens, luxury goods, travel. There's going to be over 100 million Chinese traveling overseas next year. There was over 70 million this year, and they're going to take more trips per visitor than before. So they're going to take 2 trips per year next year. People, it's China is for real, and it's becoming more and more real. And I don't want to, be a downer, but in some areas, if you go to a Chinatown area, if you look around, you're gonna see how many agents are just normal, like California guys that grew up there. There ain't many left, right? So it's really important too. Whenever things change in life, it's important to adjust to that, and get yourself on track to be able to take advantage of that. That's you're gonna see Chinese people, even if there was a let's say there was a really big change, like there was a war, there was a revolution in China, the Chinese people are separate from the Chinese country, and they're getting more rich, and they're investing all over the world, factories, companies, everything, buying, as pretty much everything, downtown New York, Rover, the traditional British car, the Saab, the Swedish car. They're just picking up. If you look and read the news, what Chinese bought, it's just amazing. A lot of things you don't even realize. They bought Lenovo, the IBM, part of IBM. It's just Blackstone. They have a percentage of Blackstone, Morgan Stanley, a percentage of Morgan Stanley. It's really phenomenal. So China is growing. It's going to continue. Chinese people will continue getting more and more wealthy in the future, and regardless of the real estate market, and even regardless of politics, it's China's time right now. Just like it was the U.S.'s time. And the U.S. would just continue growing despite the Vietnam War, despite whatever. China's just growing. It's like a huge stone that's been unlodged, and it's just rolling downhill now. It's very difficult to stop China now. I'll tell you that.
We got 2 minutes left here, and why don't we close up on maybe last minute things, and then how they can get a hold of you, And we're definitely going to schedule another one next month on a different topic. But why don't you?
Okay.
How can people get a hold of you? And do you have any last minute
Yeah.
pieces of advice that we can offer?
Okay, I'll just go real quick. I was going to go over this slide. I just wanted to show you this. This is a realtor in Beverly Hills who uploaded videos to Youku. They have over 3,000. They have views, 3,200 views. They have likes on most of their videos, and you can see that this is a very successful campaign. And this campaign actually is considered a failure. That's why I'm using it, because there's so much traffic in China that even this is considered a failure. But I think for you, 3,000 views of your multi-million-dollar houses wouldn't be too bad, I don't think. The way to get a hold of me is ChinaCashBuyers.com. You can sign up for the newsletter. We have you'll get a series of emails through that, teaching you different parts of marketing to Chinese buyers. And if you're serious, if you want to study how to find Chinese buyers, I highly recommend to go to ChinaCashBuyers.com/special. And Paco can send a link to you, so you can just click on it. But that is my video series, which I spent 2 years making, and I basically took everything that I know about selling to Chinese, about keeping in touch with Chinese, understanding Chinese. A lot of the things we talked about are actually deeper than what I mentioned in the call, right? How to craft your story, right? There's a lot you can do with that. There's a lot of ways you can go with that, and the more you understand about what's attractive, the more attractive your story is going to be, and the more likely that you'll succeed selling to Chinese buyers. So go to ChinaCashBuyers.com/special, and that will give you a list of all the modules. I could go ahead and let's see here. Let me if I do this, let's see here. Let's see, how do I do this? Okay. Hey, yeah, if you go to ChinaCashBuyers.com/special, and Paco will send the link about.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'm going to send a link and a copy of this video or this audio webinar to everybody online. We got everybody's email through the system, so I'll send everything over along with the ChinaCashBuyers.com information. We plan on having these, like I said, about once a month, where Paul can give us 30 minutes of knowledge, which I think is worth a lot, and we can go from there.
Okay, great.
And I do have a question here from Pat.
Hey, Pat.
Sorry guys, it's past an hour, but the question's still coming in. So Paul, if you don't mind hanging on,
Sure.
let's see. Pat would like to know is, are these Chinese investors, will they work for business? Oh, I see what you're saying. Will these Chinese investors also be interested in businesses, or are we just talking specifically real estate?
It's a great question, Pat. Yeah, no, they. I mean, they're very, very wealthy, right? And they're making a major, major life change. When they buy a house in LA, it is a major life change. Very similar to if you bought a house in Shanghai and moved there, right? So they're looking for a lot of things. Of course, they want education for their kids, and they also want something to do. So a lot of them will buy a commercial building. One kind of series I've seen, what often happens scenario is they'll buy a cheap apartment first, like a say $200,000-300,000 apartment for their child to attend a university or high school. Then after the kid is settled there and everything, they'll go ahead and buy a multi-million-dollar house for themselves, and then often there'll be two. There'll be like a young guy and a young girl where they're going to get married. Their plan is to get married, and then both their families, both sides, the parents will buy a house. Then when they're all set up, of course they want investments. Once they understand the U.S. and they feel comfortable and secure, then they're looking to take more money over there, right? You don't want to right away go ahead and invest. You wouldn't buy a commercial building in Shanghai without knowing anything, right? So it's a step-by-step process. So it's making them comfortable. They feel comfortable. They start to realize the benefits of the area. They start to realize what's important. And sure, absolutely, they'll buy a commercial property and they'll buy a business. I've had all kinds of experiences with our clients and friends, where people are buying, massive, massive investments. Because a lot of these buyers are very, very, very wealthy, and they don't want to tell you how wealthy they are because a number of reasons. But sometimes they'll just act very normal. But actually, like that one time, Paco, you told me, is the guy acts like he has no money, and then you say, "Would you be interested in that?" And he says, "Well, I guess I could, look at." Like whatever you tell him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I could."
Right. And Pat, just to answer, just to give you a little on top of that, is the three investors I deal with from China are business owners. They're all self-employed, and most of them have started some kind of business in Shanghai, or they made money. They came over here, and when they come over here, they don't. They travel a lot back and forth, but most of them don't get jobs. What they do is they continue their business, import, export, other things of that sort. So to answer your question is, yeah, I definitely see real estate and businesses being tied together.
Right. Think big is what I recommend. Move slowly. Step by step. Get yourself so that you understand them at a very deep level, and then get your first buyer, and then step by step, because you can do great things with these people. These are smart, educated, wealthy people, and they're probably a much higher level than your average client. They're probably going to likely be from a different class than your average client. So there's opportunities there like crazy, and if you make friends, like that realtor that when I moved to Asia, the first realtor, we're still great friends. I've introduced 100 people to them, successful deals, and we're great friends. Every time I go there, I see them, and we go out to dinner, and because I feel this special thing, because they were the first people who helped me out, right, when I got there.
Right. I would say, I guess, for my part, end it with this, guys. I started looking into international real estate well over a year and a half ago. And I started from scratch, didn't know anything about anybody, didn't know anybody in the business. I didn't know any realtors that did international business. As a matter of fact, they all told me the same thing. It's hard enough to get a local real estate here in California where I'm at. Now you want me to go to another country where I don't speak the language, don't know the culture, and you want me to sell them real estate? You've got to be kidding me. And one thing I've learned, and Paul kind of addressed it in the beginning, was if you're willing to go past that roadblock, the pasture is huge, because it is huge in that there's not a lot of competition. There is not a lot of competition there. So once I got past a lot of the stuff, I realized most agents aren't even part of the conversation because it's just too difficult. And so on that, Paul, do you have any parting notes? I do have a message from Pat. She wants me to forward your information.
Okay.
So I will privately get Pat's information over to you, Paul.
Sure. And I'll just say it'll sound like a sales pitch, but actually it's very true that there is no other course to teach you how to understand Chinese buyers. There's nobody has ever done it. So when I made this thing, I spent 2 years racking my brain thinking of stories and experiences that I've been through, and I was always trying to think what was the turning point, or how did that deal get started, or what did I do that attracted the buyer to me, and how did I deepen the friendship with that person. So it's a very personal video series. It's not like let's get rich, let's take the Chinese money, It's very personal. It's a lot of friendship stories, and they're real stories. And I took those stories of me and my team, and I distilled them out into patterns. I could see patterns about how Chinese buy, and I put those into a system. So it's all there, and they're really there's nothing else. The only other thing you can do to reach Chinese buyers is pay a bunch of money for advertising. But as you know, you're going to get a buyer that you don't understand him, he doesn't understand you, and there's nothing you can do. So I think if you're serious, the best thing to do is to study, and that's why I made the course. And I hope there's more courses in the future. There are more people trying to educate, because it's quite fun. Selling Chinese, once you do it once, it's quite addicting. It's a completely different thing. And my friends are my clients. Really, they're very casual. They're more casual than my American clients. They're just easygoing. It's a lot of it is just about friendship once you get in there.
All right, perfect. So on that, guys, I appreciate all your time. I apologize we ran over. I'm going to try to stick Paul to a time frame, but once you get to know Paul, once he gets going, it's hard to stop him. And I personally don't mind listening. Paul, I want to thank you so much for giving us some knowledge and time. I mean, just the fact of now we have a website like YouTube that we could upload videos to in China. I mean, that alone is worth, its weight in gold. So I appreciate it, guys. I will be sending this copy of this audio over to everybody along with Paul's information. And I thank you so much. And until next time, guys, have a good one. If you have any questions, you got his information there, but I will follow up with an email later on tonight, and you will have my information in case you have any specific questions or you want to get a hold of Paul.
My email
Paul,
is...
thank you very much. I appreciate
I'll
it.
just say my email is paul@chinacashbuyers.com.
Paul at China Cash Buyers. And also, Pat, I have already forwarded your information to Paul. So thank you very much, guys, and God bless, and I look forward to seeing you on the next